Well, we have a lot of information to cover. I'm so excited to be introducing Dr. Michael DiNiuga, who is going to be sharing with us the topic for this week, which is, we're going back to our conversation on maintenance. So Talking Maintenance, the sequel. Dr. Mike, are you with us?
Yes, I am, Woodson. How you doing?
I am doing great. I hope that you are as well.
Absolutely.
Well, go right ahead.
When I was going over the slides from last week's presentation, because one of the things that I do on a regular basis, I audit myself, so to speak. And I was going through the webinar from last week, and it dawned on me that perhaps I had not tied everything up in a nice, neat little bundle. So that's why I decided to start this week with Talking Maintenance. We're going to tie up all the information from last week, and we're going to go into specifics of how to go into a maintenance program from two slightly different perspectives. And the next slide shows us some of the categories that we determined last week: the emotional eater, the toxin-loaded time bomb, the carb addict, the caffeine fiend, the carnivore, the vegan, and of course the field said, what about the PMS eater? And so these are the folks that we have, and it's an interesting group that we have on here, absolutely. So we also talked about your pre-slenderized state, whether you're slim, fit, chunky, pudgy, overweight, or actually already obese. And the reason I wanted this slide brought back is we're actually going to have suggestions or recommendations for a lot of the different categories. And then, of course, we had talked about the initial reactions, and perhaps last week I spent a fair amount of time talking about how different people, depending on their reactions, what they might need going into the future. And then, of course, there's the issue of ongoing reactions. Have your cravings been controlled? Are your energy levels sustained? Are you a recovered addict or not? Do you have a smooth glide in terms of weight loss or the stutter step of subsequent plateaus? And it's interesting because I have a client here locally that we meet as a group every Wednesday morning, and she was on the webinar last Sunday evening. And as soon as I walked into the room on Wednesday, her eyes lit up and she said, Dr. D, you mentioned something about the creepy crawlies. I got that at the beginning. And so we talked a little bit more about it. But she was so amazed that she had stuff that we were talking about. And I explained to her, listen, I have a group of people that goes through the program, and everyone's roughly in the same stage. And I can see people's reactions. People are going to go through the same things on an ongoing basis. So I can tell what the need for the field is out there. But having said that, these were the basis of designing maintenance programs for the field. And there are folks out there who may think that they have to put together their maintenance packs on their own. Well, I have some good news for you. And actually, this is where Woodson, I'd like for you to talk about the availability of put together maintenance packs.
I would be happy to. Everyone, this is, while MyGreat28 and the clinical program and everything that we've done, the system is amazing. But the health panel actually got together and said, okay, once we change someone's, basically their lifestyle, their fat release, their energy, their detox, the whole 9 yards, now we need, why is there not a system to maintain those? So we're happy to let you know that now we have very specific maintenance packs, and they are incredible. They come prepackaged together. They are at a tremendous cost savings. The value is unreal, so you can continue your journey with MyGreat28 through our maintenance system, and that is what had me so excited this maintenance system is something that different ones of us had been using over the last year, but there was no formal package per se to call it. And I'm happy to tell you that over a year of using our maintenance packs, I have maintained, have not rebounded, and now am back on MyGreat28 to use the system in a different application to get different results. And so I'm just letting you know they're available. You need to ask us. You're going to see how they all come about, and you're going to see updates on our website with the maintenance packs available and videos explaining those maintenance packs as well. So I am really excited because Dr. Mike, I'm going to turn it back over to him. He is going to give you the specifics on the 3 different maintenance packs of what each one might be more applicable for in your mind as you go into your maintenance system.
Okay, very good. Thank you. So the next slide shows the very basic component of the maintenance. So remember I asked you to classify yourself as to where you were to begin with, where you are currently, what your future goals are. All right, so this is the MyGreat28 Maintenance Pack. This applies to you if you are buff, you are fit, you're not overly muscled, and your fitness program consists of mostly aerobic work, such as jogging, moderate pace swimming, walking, dancing, biking, with moderate resistance exercises, maybe light weights, resistance bands, or even body weight training once or twice a week. You might also be a vegan. You probably had a healthy lifestyle to start. You just had to deal with a little bit of middle-age creep. So you were actually very much ahead of the curve. You saw what was coming down the pike. You started to put on a little bit of weight. You didn't let things get too out of hand. You got back into shape. And you really don't need too much to keep you where you're at. So as I have repeatedly said, the basis is always going to be nutrition. So the optimal M and the optimal V, minerals and vitamins. And then the Restorix, because we live in a very toxic world. And like I keep saying, unless you have the ability to move into a completely non-toxic environment, we're going to need Restorix for most likely the rest of our life. So that's the basic maintenance package. The next level up is the MyGreat28 Maintenance Plus. And obviously, there are a couple of products that were added, Rejuvenex and Omega Q. So this applies to you if you are buff and fit, but you came from a place of carb and or caffeine addiction, and you need the Rejuvenex to keep things at bay. And you need to keep the temptation to eat a little bit quiet for a little bit longer span of time. And the fat in the Omega Q, because the Omega Q is essentially fish oil. The Omega Q is what's going to keep you feeling full longer. You might also be recovering from a decade of low-fat eating, because think back over the last about 17, 18 years, the mantra, the dictum, the medical advice was eat low-fat, no-fat, everything. And that was what led to the obesity epidemic. So we need to get you recovered from that. And if you're struggling with identifying sources of good, healthy fat to put back into your diet, well, the Omega Q takes away a lot of the guesswork. You might also be on a speaking tour and need to take extra Omega Q right before you hit the convention floor or the meeting room so you don't overeat during the event, because again, the fat in the Omega Q quiets the cravings. Now, if you are going to use this particular product in that way, you're going to have to use it at more than double, perhaps triple the recommended dose, because you're not just using it as a supplement, you're actually using it as a source of calories. The next pack up MyGreat28 Maintenance Ultimate. Now, obviously, this is a lot more product than before, and this is something that might be required by somebody. You are the average person who just got healthy after a decade or two of poor nutrition. You are at goal weight, but you are skating very close to the edge of the cliff of poor choices and poor habits. The Pure Nourish, especially the protein powder, is an easy, nutritionally balanced meal substitute or snack. It can also serve as the base for homemade ice cream, pancakes, waffles, and protein bars. For those of you who have not yet done so, MyGreat28 has recipes. We're constantly increasing the number of recipes available, but we also have links to other sources that will give you these recipes. Additionally, the MOA, mother of all, the MOA gives everything and more that your body needs to repair itself from your past and set you up for a healthier future. In my view, MOA might well be the key product that reverses age-related damage. It is the superfood product of all superfood products. It's unique in the sense that it has everything that people are using as superfoods. You don't have to pick and choose one or the other. You have everything. So that's what the prepackaged maintenance packs look like. Now, moving on to the next slide. So this is not going to be quite a prescription because, of course, these are not prescription products. These are, in fact, over-the-counter, but these are recommendations, and they do come from a physician talking about how these can best be used for you. If you are the emotional eater, keep the Slenderize available. And you may, in fact, want to double up during the tough spells. As I had mentioned last week, I have one lady who, from the get-go, I had on double the dosing. The toxin-laden time bomb, it's going to be Restorix, 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 and Restorix. It's always going to be Restorix that you're going to need. If you're the carb addict, Slenderize, just as the advice for the emotional eater. If you're the caffeine fiend, Rejuvenix, and quite likely Restorix as well to help control those cravings. For carnivores, you're going to need Restorix because, unfortunately, the meat supply in the United States is, for the most part, not 100%, but for the most part, laden down with toxins and hormones and all kinds of weird chemicals. The carnivore is going to need the Restorix for that reason. You're going to need the MOA, and depending on the meat that you're eating, you might need the Omega Q as well because you want healthy fats in your diet. Vegans will need the Optimals and the Accelerate alone. Okay? If you're a vegan and you've gotten your weight under control, because of the source of your calories, you are at some risk for B12 deficiency, and the Accelerate is it is without any equivalent out there in the world. Vegans also have the added challenge of finding good vegetable sources of omega fatty acids. People know about chia seed and flaxseed as the source for omega fatty acids. We can't really tell a vegan to take a lot of the omega Q because they are, in fact, marine life. And for the PMS eater, Restorix, Rejuvenix, and you may want to have some extra Pure Nourish around because I am told by a lot of female friends as well as patients that right around the time of the month, they seem to crave a little bit more protein than usual. So don't fight what your body's asking for. Feed it what it's asking for. Just feed it the best quality, high quality protein. And if you don't want to be eating animal protein, well then, the Pure Nourish fits the bill quite nicely. Now, having said all of that, if you are the kind of individual that has gotten to goal weight, and you've been at goal weight for some time, and you're now contemplating, I think I can take this to another level. You want to take the Fit and Cut Challenge. This will require a tiny little change in what you do. And the next slide will show this quite nicely. You will start off with the same products, But the reason that I slightly blanked out the Slenderize, the Optimals, the Rejuvenix, the Restorix, the Omega Q, you're going to use all of those like you normally do. But you're going to switch out the Pure Nourish Peach with the Pure Nourish Natural with Power Boost. This new formula specifically has branched chain amino acids, glutamine, and medium chain triglycerides. It's an interesting situation. So many power lifters and bodybuilders in the field had been not so much complaining, but pointing out that the Pure Nourish Peach wasn't quite equal to their needs when they were building muscle because of those three things that I just mentioned. Well, the company said, okay, fine, here you go. Now, if you do want to get into the fit and cut category, you're going to be using the Pure Nourish Natural with Power Boost, and you might be needing to use it more than once a day because, as I will highlight towards the end of the next segment, you will get to a point where you actually need to eat more, and you need to eat more protein, and you need to eat protein of a particular quality to not just build muscle, but keep the fat from coming back on. So this is the recap from last week. People wanted to know about maintenance programs. We talked about them. Now we're going to move on to an interesting situation. A tale of two losers, or not all weight loss is created equal. Two women that I counseled this past week, they were in different groups, so I met them on different days. One was on a Tuesday, and the other one was on a Friday. They started the program about the same time. Both had mild reactions to start, so they were not needing a lot of the Restorix. Both were unhappy about the initial weight loss. In each of the counseling sessions, both of them said, yes, but, a lot. And what I mean by this is when I point out that the source of calories was too heavy in terms of carbs, the answer was, yes, but I was at a birthday party, or yes, but it was graduation week, or yes, but I like the taste of that. And, you know, I understand what they're saying, but they're not really listening and implementing the suggestions and the coaching that I give. Having pushed through the yes, but, both had a 5-pound loss in the same week. Now, to set this up correctly, I'm going to show you something on the next slide. So this is Lindsey Vonn, and nobody would argue that she's quite fit. I need to ask the audience to participate. Her height is listed as 5'10", 5 feet 10 inches. What's her weight? And what I would like for you guys to do is to either respond in the text box on the right-hand side or text to Woodson what you believe her weight to be.
This is where we need some background music. Oh, here we go. They're coming in.
Yeah.
150 pounds is our first one.
Somebody knows a formula.
142 is another one. Hey, they're still coming in.
Okay.
Oh, I got a text message. 129, 125, 135.
I love this. I could not have asked for this good a result, but hey, the next slide will show where we're going with all of this.
Okay. Here we go.
So this lady, SW, had a 5.4 pound loss. Her fat loss, however, was 1.04 pounds. Her muscle loss was 3.26. In other words, 80% of her weight loss came from muscle loss. And she was quite ecstatic when she came in because she started on the program, she lost 5 pounds, and wow, she goes, you know, this works, this, that, and the other thing. Within about 2 seconds of looking at her biometric form, I looked at the muscle percentage going down, the body fat going up, and I said, I'm going to have to do some calculations, and these were the results I got. This was Tuesday. The next slide shows the lady I counseled on Friday. CN. CN had a lot of yes but counseling sessions. Yes but this and yes but that. We finally made a breakthrough, and she lost 5 pounds, exactly 5 pounds between the second and the third week. Doesn't sound like a lot, but this lady has not been able to move the scale down in quite a while. The fat loss was 4.48 pounds. Muscle loss was 0.28 pounds. In other words, she was just shy of 90% of her loss coming from fat. In fact, the exact number is 89.6. Now, for those of you who are really good at math, if you add the fat loss and the muscle loss, it's never equal to the total amount of weight lost. The difference is the amount of water that your body no longer needs to hold because there's less of you now. Okay? So the numbers are not really weird. There's just factors that we don't take into account in this simplified version. So the next slide shows SW, fat loss 1.04 pounds, muscle loss 3.26 pounds, CN 4.48 pounds lost, of fat lost, 0.28 pounds of muscle lost. If they had both started from the middle position, 25% body fat, SW is moving to the right and CN to the left. Now, here's a weird concept that I want you all to consider. The slender, obese person. If you take the definition of obesity and change it slightly as a percentage above a certain number of total body weight being in terms of fat, you could actually be quite light or not heavy or slim or slender, but if the fat percentage of your body is higher than it should be, then you would be the slender, obese individual. Now, most people are probably not going to say that they want to move towards that 30% body fat percentage. They'd rather stay at 25 or go down to about 20. And for reference purposes, 18 to 22 or 23 is considered ideal, healthy. Now, let's go on to Lindsey Vonn. So what were the range of numbers?
We have them all the way from 123 up to 155. Most of them are suggesting in the 30s, 130s.
Okay, good. Her Olympic bio data sheet lists her as 5 feet 10 inches, 165 pounds. Most women would think she's heavy at 150 pounds. And the formula is 100 pounds for the first 5 feet for women, and then 5 pounds per inch above 5 feet. And somebody immediately said 150 pounds. Why is she so heavy? She certainly doesn't look it, does she? It's because of all the muscle. Now, I don't know how many G's she's fighting against as she's doing this particular stance. But any of you who have gone downhill skiing at speeds that are a little bit insane know that at the end of about 5 minutes or so of doing this, your thigh muscles are burning. In fact, if you don't have enough thigh muscles, you can't hold this stance. She is packing so much muscle, and because muscle is so much heavier in a smaller space, she looks to be about 135, 145 pounds. But she is, in fact, 165 pounds. Now, I have a small group of clients, and between the 3rd and the 4th month on the program, they are now approaching a magical muscle percentage, at which point they must eat more to keep the weight off. Not just any food, but more protein. In fact, I have one client that is now eating 400 calories more than when we started because he's been able to achieve a magic percentage of muscle mass. I'm not going to tell the group what that number is because Most folks are not anywhere near that number, and I don't want them to see that number and say, oh my God, I'm never going to get there. But here's the key. You keep losing fat, you start adding muscle, and at some point, and there's a certain percentage, at some point the muscle starts burning so many calories even while you're at rest that in order to keep the weight loss going, you must eat more protein to keep the muscle healthy. The major problem I had with the lady that lost muscle mass is every other program, and she's been through all of them, every other program that she's ever done has led to rebound weight gain. In fact, the rebound weight gain happened faster and faster after each successive program that she went through. And the reason for this is she had lost muscle each time she went through a dieting program, because every program out there only focuses on the number on the scale. They never focus on fat versus muscle. So as she went through each diet, she's a serial dieter, she lost progressively more muscle, which meant that at the end of that diet, she packed on more fat quicker. This program, yes, we want to reduce the fat. We want to also build some muscle, because this is what will keep you long-term, burning calories and not rebounding. So, another way of looking at this, I had one of my most successful ladies come back from a week in the Florida Keys. And you know what happens. You're out with your girlfriends. Everyone says, oh my God, you look good. You're wonderful. Your hair, your skin. Her actual weight loss was only about 18 pounds. She looked like she had lost maybe 42. But the actual weight loss was only 18 because she had put on muscle. So now, of course, her girlfriends are going, oh, you know, this and that. In other words, the committee got invited back into her head. So she comes back from vacation and says, Dr. D, is there any way you can speed up my weight loss? And I said to her, yes, but you're going to have to lose muscle. Now, she's on our end. She looked at me and said, well, that's not healthy. That's not good. I said, yes, you're right. But you asked me the question. So here's the key. Go through the fat loss phase of this program. Get yourself to a maintenance phase. Stay there for a good 2-3 months. Allow your body a breathing spell. And then start putting muscle on. Long term, it is what will keep you healthier, stronger, and keep the weight from coming back. In fact, there's the added bonus of you get enough muscle on you, and you will have the same problem that most athletes have, like Lindsey Vonn and a couple of other world-class swimmers. They can't eat enough throughout the day. Imagine that. Muscle, it does a body good.
I love that, because it takes so many more calories to feed muscle than it does to feed fat, because isn't it true when you're at rest and you're in great physical shape with muscle that you're, what you said before, you're burning calories when you're not doing anything versus someone who is sedentary and more blubbery. They're really not burning hardly any calories at any time. So that was one of the biggest motivators for me to get fit. Was for that very reason, to just have that constant satiated feeling. It's really exciting.
Mm-hmm. Depending on the type of muscle you're carrying, and of course that's partly determined by genetics, it's partly determined by your workout routine, muscle will burn anywhere between 3 and 7 times more energy than fat tissue. You could be burning anywhere between 300 and close to 700 calories per day just walking around doing, you know, not really exercising, simply because you've put on enough muscle.
That's incredible. This is wonderful, because so many people are having such great results. And now as they're moving into their maintenance, and for those of you that aren't moving into your maintenance program, this should give you food for thought, to give you the knowledge and the satisfaction and the confidence that once you reach your goal, this isn't going to be like every other thing you've tried. The maintenance system is going to continue you through this journey, and for me, that was the peace of mind I desperately needed, because I've never had that before.
Absolutely. So
Well, Dr. Mike, this is wonderful. And my goodness gracious, 165 pounds never looked so good as it does on Steve Vaughn. That is just incredible. That is incredible. Just for everybody to know, send in your comments, send in your measurements, send in your pictures, send in your recipes to MyGreat28@gmail. You will see them posted on our Facebook page. You are going to see the new recipe section that launches on MyGreat28.com within the next 10 days. You are going to see meal plans, grocery lists. The list goes on and on. There is a monster, mega monumental surprise happening with MyGreat28 within the next 2 weeks. So we're really excited about that, and we appreciate all of you joining us tonight. And as always, Dr. Mike, that was a wonderful, fantastic presentation. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. My pleasure, as always.
Okay, everybody, let's go out there and make this week count. Send us everything, anything, questions, comments, pictures, the whole 9 yards, and we cannot wait to see your MyGreat28 transformation. You'll have a super night. Bye.